Welcome to the Relax and to Love podcast, the place for spiritual, ambitious women to awaken to divine connection within themselves and their partner and manifest their most desired relationship with joy and ease. I'm Teal Elizabeth, your host, a spiritual love and relationship coach trained in the principles of feminine energy, NLP, and deep subconscious reprogramming. And through this podcast, it is my desire to inspire you on all things dating, relationships, and self-love. Now, on to the show. Good morning, lovelies. Welcome back to the Relax and to Love podcast. I am here, cozied up, nestled in this morning, and feeling a deep sense of groundedness that I want to speak on today for today's topic of conversation. And speaking about how we really get to connect into that inner state of calm and peace and the oasis within us that can then dictate how we actually perceive and move through the world and move through our relationships that will drastically shift everything. And I want to start this off by just speaking to the fact that in this current moment, nothing in my current life feels grounded, except for the fact that we are all moved into our new home, which feels so incredibly amazing. We are nestled into a little apartment here in Portland, Oregon, and have officially said goodbye to the nomadic entrepreneurial lifestyle in exchange for a new up-leveled lifestyle. And I will say that it just feels so good and it feels so right. It feels like I've finally truly come home, with the caveat of saying that from all of the spiritual work that I've been doing pretty much the most of my life, I feel like no matter where I've been in the world, I've been able to carry that sense of feeling of home within me, within my heart, within my soul, and that's what I want to speak on today. But there is also such an even deeper level of coming home when you can bring that sense of home from within you also into your physical experience and have a truly physical space that you can call your own. It is such a just a relieving feeling to be able to just stand and put some roots down after not having roots for 2.5 years. But all that to say, in the external world right now, there are massive riots going on in Portland. There is a tremendous fire that is causing smoke that is hazardous to my health, cannot even go outside. It kind of feels like the world is just falling apart around me. But even still, with all of this chaos, all of this turmoil, all of this uncertainty and continued unknownness of 2020, I continue to feel so grounded, so settled, so secure in who I am. And I want to really talk about that today because I think that this is something that many of us struggle with and many of us are seeking. And so I want to speak to how we can really create that sense of peace and calm and home within our soul, within ourselves, within our psyche, no matter what the experience is on our external world. Yes. So for any of you who have been feeling intense amounts of anxiety, frustration, just feelings of upsetness for the way that the external world is unfolding at the moment, I feel you. I'm right there with you. It is not the easiest thing to move through right now. However, it does not need to rock our center, right? It does not need to be the narrative that we imbibe for how we choose to live our life on the daily. And it does not need to be the way that we take control of how we feel on the daily, right? We are the ones that are always continuing to be in control of how we feel. And through us feeling our sense of peace and happiness and love, we get to actually be that light and that ripple effect for the people in our lives. And the more that we can influence and inspire that ripple effect of light and love to the people in our lives, the more we're able to really shift the way that the external world unfolds. Do you hear me? This is really important. I want you to imagine it like a pebble being dropped into an ocean, right? It may not feel like you're making a difference if it's all choppy waters, but the more pebbles that are dropped in the ocean that are making those ripple effects of light and love, those begin to spread, and that becomes the new rhythm, and that becomes the new energy that is underneath all of the chaos. So it starts with the individual, and it starts with you, and it starts with this moment right now. and really starting to get much more comfortable with making your priority being feeling good in this moment and every moment moving forward. And this also comes into play so much in relationships. And I always want to bring it with the filter of relationships and how we relate to others, because it is so important to recognize how our energy affects the way that people receive us, right? So if we are in a place where we are swept up out of the calm and the tranquility from our inner self, and we are up in our heads, we are up in the chaos, we are up in the over chatter and the anxiety and the over functioning and the stress, that is the energy that we are carrying forth with every person that we come into contact with. And can you see that chaotic energy, how that would be received by others? It comes through as a very disharmonious kind of, there's a really great word that I learned in 10th grade English class. I'm trying to remember what the word is. Cacophonous. Cacophonous. I love that word. Cacophony. The energy is cacophonous. As in, it's displeasing. It's unsettling. It's just uncertain. It doesn't feel quite right, right? People pick up on this, and they pick up on it very, very intunely. They may not even be able to tell you what it is exactly, and men really pick up on this. They may not be able to tell you exactly what it is, but they can sense that something within you is off. Something within you is out of alignment, and it is the truth. We are out of alignment with our highest self when we are caught up in the mind, and when we are caught up in that anxiety and the fear and the stress and the worry. And when I say out of alignment, what I'm saying is we are out of alignment with our connection to Source, with our connection to God, with our connection to our spirit, with our angels, whatever it is that you want to call it. We are out of connection with the being that is us in that highest vibration. And when we can come back into alignment with that highest essence of us, that's when we come back into that truth, into that source, into that place of peace and calm within us. And when we get into that place of peace and calm, once again, we get to shift the entire vibration, the entire energy of how we show up for the world and how the world shows up for us. Now, I'm not saying that all the riots and the fires and whatever else that we're experiencing at this time is all going to magically shift in that first moment when you connect into that peace within you. But when we do this on a consistent basis, it does shift the way that people in our world and in our specific sphere of influence in life reflect back to us. So I want to really connect into this idea of how do we really drop into that? How do we get into that place of peace and calm, right? How do we really connect into our highest self? Because when we do this, we can see, as I'm sharing, just the power that comes through. And I actually have had a few clients that I've been coaching lately who have been going through their own version of this and experience of this, where they've attracted in men in the past that, and we're going through a relationship in the current reality when I'm coaching with them, that these men have just been sensing something feels off within them, but they can't quite experience it and they can't quite understand what it is. But it manifests in feeling very hot and cold, where they'll come in and it'll be great and it'll be wonderful, and then they'll pull away and they'll be super distant and cold. And that hot and cold dynamic with men can be very much a reflection of our own sense of energy, of how we're managing our energy, right? If we are showing up as being sometimes really centered and present and connected and calm and peaceful and loving, and other times being a total basket case, right? This can show up in the way that men receive us and pick up on that energy, and they will also do that wavering dance. So it's really, really important to really check your energy and manage that energy every single day. Every single day. Checking yourself, coming back into that place. And that's what I really want to talk into. The first thing to really make sure that we are managing that energy is first to be in that awareness of that energy and recognizing that how important energy is in everything unfolding with our experience and with our interactions with others. And with that awareness, starting to make that intention that moving forward every single day, every single hour, I'm going to check in with myself and ask myself, how am I feeling? How am I feeling? Right? And if there are those moments of feeling stressed, of feeling anxious, of feeling worry, to listen to that, to not just push through it, to not just let it overcome and obsess over it, or let it just swallow you up in those feelings, but to actually take a moment to detach and start to lessen the power and the hold of these feelings on ourself. And the way you can do that is in these moments after you've taken that second in the morning to check in with how you feel. If you're feeling the feelings coming up, making the intentional time to process through the feelings, right? This is so important, to process through those feelings, whether it's journaling and writing out those feelings, whether it's taking a walk and being able to just let them all come through, whether it's calling a friend and actually talking through the feelings with that person. It's so important to let these feelings come through so that you don't push them down. Because when we push down the feelings, that any of those feelings that make us feel out of connection with our truest self, we are actually giving them more power. We are giving them more power, more presence to feel even more intense. It's right. It's kind of like bubbles underneath a lid of a pot of steaming water. If we keep that lid shoved down, those bubbles are just going to get stronger and bigger. And guess what? Next thing you know, poof, they're going to pop that lid off and you are going to be in a much worse spot, right? We've all been there, right? You just explode. You just can't handle it anymore. Your psyche just cannot handle it anymore. So it's in these daily actions, in these moments where we get to be intentional, where we get to take that moment to pause, to check in, to write, to process through all the things that are making us feel these things and get back to the deeper truth of our source, of ourself, of that peace and calm within us. And meditation is the next big thing here to really help to get back down into that oasis. And I know for any of you who are new to meditation, this can be challenging in the beginning if we're not used to it and we're not comfortable with it, because the mind gets really bored, and the mind gets bored really quickly. And after 2 or 3 minutes of sitting there in silence, it starts running wild, right? It starts getting like, let's go do something else. So you've got a million other things to do, or this is not as important as all the other things that need your attention. And just really notice that voice and recognize that voice for what it is. That voice is trying to pull you away from the actual most important thing that is in front of you, which is quieting that voice. And when we do start to quiet that voice by just letting it run, noticing it, and letting it go and reminding it that it is not serving you in this moment, that's when we start to drop down, almost like layers, imagining it like layers, the mind being the very surface layer, and the second and third and fourth and fifth layers being the levels of subconscious that we get to drop down into, to deepen into that space of calm and peace. And that deep space of calm and peace is waiting for you. It's waiting for every single one of you. And this is something that I've done extensive studies and practices on, in deepening into these deeper layers of meditation, to get into that transcendent place where we are so disconnected from the mind and so reconnected to the soul that it feels like we have connected into something that may not even feel comfortable, may not even feel like anything you've ever experienced before, but you know on the deepest level of your being that this is your home and that this is your truest sense of self. And it is my hope and gift to help women to access that point, that portal, that space of complete serenity, complete peace, complete calmness, complete knowing, right? This is the source of your intuition. This is the source of your highest self. This is the source of your deepest power. And when we can ground into that place of calm and peace and show up in the world from that energy space, that is when we are truly unstoppable. That is when we are truly in our highest, clicked in power and presence to the universe. So I want you to just really take a moment to listen to all this. Notice how you feel even in hearing these words, even in hearing what it is that I'm sharing, and notice where you find yourself falling on the day-to-day basis. Have you been able to access this place within you? Do you find yourself stuck in the top surface level layer of your mind, right? And what is keeping you from being able to get into that place of peace and calm and tranquility and your highest self? And take some time to reflect on this, journal on this, and notice what comes up for you. And if this is something that you need support with or that you would like guidance with, this is something that I reserve for very specific women that are ready to do that deeper inner work on themselves. I call it love from within, and it is a true soul cleansing process of clearing through any of those blocks or layers that are keeping you from being able to access that deeper self, that, fifth, sixth dimension of yourself that is so clicked in to your highest self, right? I almost think about myself as being a chiropractor for your soul, just clicking you back into place with your highest self. And so many women that I talk to that come to me are just feeling like something feels off, something doesn't feel right, something feels out of alignment, right? And this is your work, is to recognize this, to honor this, and know when you need help with this. Because as I was explaining in the beginning, if we go through life moving through these feelings from that place of feeling out of alignment, we are creating that experience for others, and we're creating the reality of that reflection back for us, of also being an out of alignment, out of connection, disoriented life that we live in as well. Okay? But when we can get back into that place of true clicked in alignment, we start to see the world shift for us. We start to see the world unfold for us in a way that is so supported, that is so guided, that is so much more in sync, in flow, in harmony, that we don't even have to work so hard, that we actually get to turn off the mind, that we actually don't have to rely on the mind to do all the controlling and the planning and the driving and the receiving. We get to just be in that place of flow. And that is the truest gift of what it means to really be alive, right? To come into the world, into life, no matter what is happening on the external, no matter what chaos is going on externally, and still feel that place of complete flow and alignment and truth within our soul. And that is something that I practice every day, even in these moments when I too feel tested and feel like everything is falling to hell in a handbasket, to still be able to come back to that place of calm and peace and serenity and health within myself. And there is nothing more satisfying, more rewarding, and more fulfilling than feeling infinitely supported and infinitely guided from that space. So like I said, if this is something that you're recognizing, oh crap, I think I could use some help with this, reach out to me, email me, message me, DM me on Instagram, and let's explore this, because this is what it truly means to be alive, my dear. And if you have not had a taste of this, or you're struggling to stay connected to this sense and source of power, this is your highest work. This is your highest work above anything else, more than any other deadlines, any other jobs, any other requirements. This is your highest self, because once you put the oxygen mask on yourself, you are able to help others. You are able to show up in the ways that you need to be powerful for others. But if we put the needs and expectations of others ahead of the needs that we have for ourselves, we are going to burn out. We are going to pass out. We are going to fall apart, and we're not going to be able to serve the needs of others in the ways that we are truly able to when we are clicked into ourselves. So remember that. Remember that. Stay connected to that, and ask for help if you need it. I'm here for you, my dear. Sending you so much love today. Namaste. Thanks for tuning in to another amazing episode of the Relax into Love podcast. If you are loving what you're hearing, please, I would love for you to write me a heartfelt review. It means so much for the success of this podcast. And honestly, I love hearing what really hits home for your soul. And the feedback, really, I read every piece of it. So definitely pop me a love note and share this with a friend. Share this with someone who you know could really use this message today. And let's keep spreading the love. Until next time.